It's not an easy life being a fat roll farmer. The days are long, the hours are hard, and the fields of arena noobs go on for what seems like forever. I've been out here sundown till sunup chopping wheat like... Today's weapon of inquiry is a cult classic. A weapon class long preferred by tasteful tarnished who enjoy wacky hitboxes and fancy backstab animations. Scythes are one of Elden Ring's curious cases. While formerly pushing towards meta after the speed buffs and poise break changes on 1.08, even being taken to a tournament victory in the hands of Frosty, Scythes were one of the only weapon classes to lose standing on patch 1.10. Because great weapons can now hyper armor through Scythe, the weapon is trickier, less reliable, and has worse matchups in many cases than it did before. That's not the entire story though. Scythe has a fast crouch R1 that can reaction roll catch. Combined with its ability to roll catch with its neutral and running R1s, and its excellent frame data on its running attacks, Scythes are a mix-up machine that in the hands of a competent player can punish any playstyle with a unique combination of moves. Beyond its standout moveset, Scythe also has a special property that it shares with a few other Ashes and weapons in the game, where two-handed Scythe ignores lower level hit stun from small weapons when in its attack frames. You might be tempted to think that this is just hyper armor, but instead of being based on a calculation of poise numbers, Scythe gets this super armor regardless of your poise levels. In other words, while Scythe suffered greatly from not being able to stun great weapons in hyper armor frames as of patch 1.10, it is still an incredible matchup weapon for small weapons because it has decent speed, damage, and can hit through their attacks. Beyond super armor, Scythe has a few true combos. The most notable one on two-handed Scythe is the jumping R2 into R1. This combo deals massive damage when it hits, and it works very well to free aim the jumping R2 because the hitbox can hit behind you, meaning you can jump over someone, confirm the jumping R2, and get the R1 follow-up. Very tasty for comebacks and mixing up out of your Vortex. And speaking of Vortex, Scythe went from being one of the best Vortex weapons when it could poise break almost every weapon, to one that has to rely on weapon matchups to force the issue. What is Vortex, you might ask? Vortex is a description of the game state where, because of the speed and ability to stun your opponent with whichever weapon you're using, you can hit the opponent again out of stun if they don't buffer a roll. This leads to a constant state of 50-50s, where the opponent has to choose to roll out of stun or wait to roll, and where the aggressor can keep their opponent stun locked and roll caught until the chocobos come home to the barn. Since patch 1.10, weapons that could formerly Vortex have a much more difficult time because of hyper armor. Where it was safe to attack your opponent and interrupt their frames before, now you have to make sure that you roll catch them or hit them before their attacks start up to keep them effectively pressured. This is notably one of the reasons that Powerstance Greatspears is no longer as effective as it once was, and also the reason for the downfall of the Scythe. The good news for you Scythe lovers out there is that because of Scythe's ability to get through the first hit poise breaks of small weapons, the Crouch R1 Vortex is still alive and well. When you put all these elements together, you have a weapon that is not only competitive, but extremely fun to combo with. So happy Vortex, my friends! And don't forget to separate the wheat from the chaff. Yeah, I figured since my gameplay is lacking, I should lean on my commentary, so instead of just showing you the uncut duels with music, I'm going to provide a little bit of commentary. So, I'm trying to fish this two-handed thrusting sword. I don't think our connection is good enough to get it reliably, so I have a bunch of missed backstab whiffs in this fight. But I managed to trade using the super armor of the Scythe there, and I'm looking for spots to pressure because I'm at a big health advantage. And I get a nice bleed proc. Don't underestimate the bleed on the Scythe, like my opponent there. It doesn't build up very quickly on dexterity, but if there's enough phantom hits involved, you can definitely proc it. This fight is against a swapping Shamshir player. I try to bait a whiff punish there. It doesn't work. trade through the Shamshir. And they bolus, unlike the last player, so, you know, you can always bolus in the Coliseum Arena. It's much too large to make it easy to punish a bolus. And I roll away from Lightning Slash there. If you roll around it, sometimes it will hit you when they turn to the side. I didn't see the Giant Hunt coming. And they don't do the second L2 press on the Spinning Slash, which turns out to be the match. GG's. And here I have Clevey the goat on the UGS. I fought him a few times that night. Very skilled player, plays on the ladder, and has quite a strong mix-up game with the UGS. So a lot of the time against UGS I space by sprinting. And one thing about Scythe is that it cannot poise break an UGS out of the hyper armor, so you have to be pretty careful. But there I hit him before the hyper armor, and then I hit him after it. He has good spacing there to connect on the crouch poke, and that whiff on the roll catch is pretty much the whole game. The thing about these UGS matchups is that you cannot afford to take basically any hits. I think that I'm 4 hits here and dead. So yeah, you'll see after the whiff I go for the follow-up, and I get punished for it, so that was clearly not correct. Should have just rolled again. Me and this gamer had some good fights that night. This is a good Vortex example. I hit him while he's walking twice, then I'm able to roll catch. And I'm able to roll the halberd hits pretty effectively, but the blood tax ends up hitting me. I roll catch with the Scythe hitting behind me. The final trade and they go down. GG's. Here's a nice Powerstance Greatspears matchup. As I discussed a bit earlier in the video, against Powerstance Greatspears, if you have a weapon that can poise break them, the correct way to get out of a vortex is to attack them. And you'll see here, you really don't want to panic because, see, I get roll caught, they hit me again, and then I hit them out of the vortex. Catch them with a few hits there, and now I'm at another health advantage. Roll catch him with the crouch L1, back up, and I do Fandagger to end the fight. They can hit me once and kill me, so I think 5 HP is worth it. And for these last couple duels, I have some really nice fights with a very excellent duelist, Blue Delver. And when I show Blue Delver the Scythe, they brought out their Grey Scythe for a Scythe mirror, which are one of the most fun mirrors because unlike Scythe versus Great Weapons, where Great Weapons can hit through them, or Scythe versus Small Weapons, where the Scythe can hit through the Small Weapons, Scythe mirrors are like UGS mirrors, where all of the hits will poise break. So it creates an excellent flow of combat where neither player is able to just mash through the other one's attacks. And I make an air. I go for the really high-risk play of throwing a lightning pot, and they had a nice read running in. Last match of the day here, the Blue Delver rematch. This time, I get a little better priority, and I think that they are just not getting into their attack animations quick enough here. I'm able to hit them a couple of times early. They get me back in their own vortex, and then I hit them and go for a nice running R1 to trigger the bleed proc. Great games, Blue Delver. Like and subscribe for more content.